Well, hello and welcome to the Embers Survivor Podcast for episode 3 of Brisbane Survivor. Mal here. I'll go by Mal with Mel not being here. We won't name confuse, but Nick will be proud of us because we're here with the boys. The boys.
The boys.
So we've got Aston and James. Welcome, Aston. Welcome, James. How you both going?
Good to see you, Mal. Missed you last week.
I'm back. So
good to see you, Mel. I'm going to add a spite that I'm going to call you Malcolm because the better Mel is absent tonight.
Yes, we pay homage to Mel. She's not here. We'll probably lose 1,700 viewers tonight that she brings in as a crowd favourite. All right, let's get into it. So we start the episode and we get to see Lily sharing her information about the immunity idol to Alex and Liam. So I'm going to start with you, James. Your thoughts here. Good call, bad call? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I think it's a bad call, to be honest with you. When you're in that low numbers, essentially, I think that you probably want to keep that information to yourself because if there was no swap and she had to go to tribal and now targeting her, then she kind of has all the power to control who goes home. So my opinion, bad move.
Aston, do you agree?
Yeah, I have to agree there. I think at this point she's already got Alex on side. Telling him isn't really going to improve that relationship, I don't think. She told Liam, and I feel like telling Liam is kind of a bad move that might come up to haunt her eventually, just by a little thing that I saw later on in the episode that I think might bite her.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the swap later, but I'm just going to throw out the idea. Do you think she might have done it with the purpose of, if we go to tribal council again, there is no reason at all for Alex and Liam to come after me because I'm going to be safe?
Yes, that's possible. Yeah, I mean, they're less likely to go for it in that if they were to say go back to tribal.
I think, that is a valid point. But at the same time, when you do have an idol like that in such a small group, I mean, keep it to yourself. There was really no reason for her to tell because if she had kept that to herself, she can kind of really see where she is in that pecking order if they did decide to throw out her name.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that ultimately the best case scenario would have been hold the information and then if your 3 or 2, whatever it may be, makes the merge, have a chat with it at that point there and see what can we do to mess things up. But all right, so we get to go to a reward challenge in this episode, and I know from speaking to Aston in the past that Idle Hands is a big favourite of Aston's. So we basically saw them go up. It was first to 5. I think it ended up 5-4. We had to go to the decider, which Kyle obviously won. But again, I'm going to go to you, James, and give us your thought. The rewards challenge, what went down there, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful.
I think Idle Hands is a great challenge. It's in terms of one-on-one. It has so many different components and strengths in terms of techniques, in terms of how you can win. There's never really no major advantage because you have so many things to focus on. So I think it's a really big equalizer in terms of challenges. And, so I'm a big fan of the challenge.
I thought it was kind of like, typically when you watch Idle Hands, the idol that you're holding is quite balanced. It's usually, but I found that with this little piece of wood, it was kind of off kilter, and it meant they were having to really focus on balancing it. Otherwise, it would just tip over on them, which added a kind of like another element to the challenge.
Yeah, I think that it took away from some of the battle element, but it was interesting to see that Lily stepped up in that second battle against Nick, and she went with that, turning her back to Nick and sort of concentrating on the balance. Let's see where it goes from there. But I thought it was really interesting that after that battle, even though Lily lost it, it was a strategy that you saw a lot of the players take in all of the remaining battles as we went their way through. So instead of being a real targeted, let's try and hit it off them, it became more about like who can outlast the other one. I don't know if I'm saying the same thing as you're not there, Aston. What do you think?
No. Yeah, no, it did seem like because of the balance aspect, they started going towards a more defensive. I think the other person would just drop it type of tactic, which I guess makes sense.
Yep. Now, can I throw something out there and get your opinions? So I noticed that, and I actually wrote this down to check the, excuse me for the colours, but Sian, Lily and Liam, they went through a straight rotation. It went Sian, Lily, Liam, Sian, Lily, Liam, Sian, Lily, Liam. But going through the other way, I think it went through that way anyway, but everybody had a rotating turn. So by the time the 9th battle came around, 3 each. On the other tribe, though, we saw Kyle step up to the decider. That was Kyle's 3rd battle, and we saw both, I think it was Tyler and Andy, only take part in 1 battle each. Now, as a viewer, I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, like, I don't like this. I always like that equality that you've got to throw up either Tyler or Andy for that split, that deciding vote there. But Kyle has proven himself as a challenge beast so far. Fair, unfair?
You go, James.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's always good. You got to have the rotation in terms of around, give it equality, but at the same time, I mean, you're always as a tribe challenge. You always want your best people up to give yourself the best opportunity of getting the points. So if it's within the rules, then yeah, absolutely. But in terms of if I personally like it, I would have liked to have probably seen everyone get a go. But if it was me in that challenge and it's me performing, then I would probably want the strongest person up each time.
Yeah, I basically just agree with both of you guys. I don't think there's much more to be said.
Cool. So we go from there, and the reward that was attached to the reward challenge there was that the winning tribe was going to be able to select 2 items from the losing tribe. And we started to see a discussion which seemed to be primarily led from Tyler with a bit of Andy input. And the initial focus seemed to be, could we get our hands on an idol? Now, they pretty much talked themselves out of that very quickly, as in like that's a personal item versus a group item. But we did see Andy end up going across following the discussion. Ashton, we'll head off with you on this one. Thoughts?
I do think this is kind of for me, I would be getting big Tyler red flags here. She's playing super hard and, thinking outside the box when no one else really is. I think, I would be glued up on this. But yeah, it's worth a shot trying to look for, as you're searching, I'm looking for this item. Can I look for this item? I think they send the wrong person to try and pull that off.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, what do you think, James?
Yeah, I also agree with you in terms of it does. If these players are cluey enough, then it does give off a few red flags. Listening to Tyler, because it is apparent that she does have the cogs turning her head. She is in game mode. She's kind of thinking, trying to get some sort of leverage or information in the game or advantage. But in saying that though, to be honest, my highlight out of this was just the fact that Alex being so kind of like, you know what, they can't take food. It's in my belly, but then next minute, and he just uproots that and takes the chocolate and the Moodley bars.
I agree. That was an awesome moment, a clever play. I did question how hungry anybody can be at this part of the game. But I'm going to ask from a different perspective, like what was to be gained or lost from the decisions that they made going there for the reward challenge? So obviously they're not hungry. They've been there for a few hours. They don't really need the chocolates or the chips or muesli bars or whatever it may be. It's a nice little taster. So for Andy and Tyler, thanks, Mel. James and I aren't looking too bad either. So obviously Sam's put this into the game for a different purpose. What do you think that was, and do you think anything was achieved in either a positive or a negative manner for either of the tribes here?
Well, I think that in terms of, it's definitely there in purpose to try and have that bit of a cross-tribal sort of relationships and bonds, but in a cast where, there already are connections, people already kind of know each other, I think that kind of nullifies that to a degree because people are already aware to the connections to some degree. What I probably would have liked to have seen if they had to meet at like a mutual point, and say one person, like say Soames, they bring a few items, and then the person from Rogers then comes and kind of choose, but it's more like one-on-one and more of a personal exchange of information across tribal rather than rather than direct with the whole tribe, just purely because of all the connections that are already present in the game.
For me, I was thinking like it's always fun to see the steal. I don't think I've ever seen an analogy before where you can act because generally there is nothing to steal. So this kind of it's fun to add it in there in this like super compact version of the game. It's a fun little thing to play around with. I feel like the result yielded is minimal, but I still enjoyed it for the character moments it provided.
Look, I really liked it as well. I thought it was great TV. I felt it was potentially a missed opportunity, Andy being the one going across. She's there with only the three of the others. Should she have taken advantage of the opportunity to potentially cement some of these people? Because obviously they've got 5, the others have got 3. Could she have cemented on some of the relationships that she does or doesn't have with particular people and have that come through as a benefit later on in the game, potentially?
I'm just over here kind of wishing, man, could they have sent Nick? That would have been...
Well, we've seen all those little bits.
No, they couldn't have. They couldn't have. Yeah, they couldn't have. But Nick and Lily would have had an all-out brawl and fight. We can't be having that.
As the viewer, is that not what we want, James?
Yeah.
No, it is, but I don't think Sam wants a lawsuit on his hands
from his own siblings.
Yeah, exactly.
Siblings, they'll be okay. All right, so in this bit of time there, we also saw, before they went to the immunity challenge, Alex making himself a fake immunity idol. Pretty impressive.
Love it.
This would be up your alley, James.
Yeah, I love it. I think I was pretty impressed as a creative person making fake idols myself. I love the ingenuity of Alex and his his savviness to create it in such a short span as well.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Now, at the same time that we saw Alex creating a fake immunity idol to go with the one that he already has as a real immunity idol, we saw last week them talking about the idea that they were going to throw Sean under the bus with having an immunity idol, but that now becomes reality. Aston, talk us through it.
Yeah, so it seemed like, Orange decided that, well, we should probably have a look for the idol. We're a team of 5. Let's have a look for the idol together. So everyone spreads across the garden. They all start having a little search. Sean stumbles across the idol, quickly picks it up, and I think Nick might have saw me. We get to a little Nick. Nick confessional, and he's like, "Hey, Sean, is that a idol in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me, mate?"
Now, Sean.
So yeah, Malcolm.
I'd break it up for sure.
Oh, that's not the fight. It's a bit delayed.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to think, what's he breaking up? No, Sam, we don't want it broken up. If it comes to fruition, we're all paid a TV for it. Look, I had one other line that I really liked when through this part, and I should have mentioned it when Andy was over rating the bags, but there was a little bit of the discussion, and she threw out the shoulda, coulda, woulda, but you didn't.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that hold on, where Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, we're having a beard off tonight. Men all over Australia have beard envy tonight. Oh, yes, Aston and James, you're going for it. You got a little bit of catching up to do, but I'm liking the start. Well spotted, Mel. To me, what Andy threw out there, and it may not have been the intention at this point, but to me that sums up when you play Survivor. Like, you've got to go for the opportunities that create itself, and too many players leave the game at the end with the "but you didn't," and I think we're going to talk about it later on, and I think we'll see more of it as the series goes on. Anything else you want to add before we go to the immunity challenge, James?
Yeah, I want to go back to kind of
the just give a shout out to
Sean finding.
We all love Nick.
Yeah, Nick's great.
I wanted to go back to Sean finding the idol. Obviously, yes, the original Soames tried have already thrown out the idea of throwing Sean under the bus for finding out the first challenge, and now if it comes out or Nick reveals that Sean actually has another idol, there's going to be even more of a bigger target on Sean because there may be that perception of him actually having multiple idols. So if that does happen, then he could be in a fair bit of danger.
Absolutely. Did you want to add anything, Aston, before we move on to heading to the immunity challenge?
No, I think we're good to go.
All right. So the two tribes, as we've known them, have come to the immunity challenge. And before we get in there, Sam throws out a little surprise there that we're about to have a tribe swap. Now, I thought this was really interesting. If I just go to watching your chat in the pre-game as to how the contestants were going to go, but I think you were also speculating as we went into a 10-player season, which we haven't seen before in one of these LRGs. And in that, where would a swap come into it? Were we expecting one after a merge at 8? What would a swap even come into it? And so going now into 8 players left in the game, Sam mixes things up and makes it 4-4. I think there's a little bit to talk about here. James, give us your thoughts first, mate.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the timing of the swap, to be honest with you, because it's out of blue. It also at the same time doesn't give enough leverage to form connections for a challenge. But I think that's also the highlight of it because it's kind of how can each new team or new tribe quickly form a bond and connection to cohesively take out the win. So I was a big fan of the timing of it, to be honest with you, and I think it was a very interesting combination and mixture of personalities and players we got on each tribe.
Well, I'll just mention how that fitted in and we'll then throw to Aston. So once we had the redraw, we saw on the new Rogers tribe that we had Alex, Nick, Liam and Tyler, which left us with 2 original Soames, 2 original Rogers. And on the other tribe, we ended up with Andy, Sean, Kyle and Lily for a 3-1 breakup. So Aston, what did you think of the breakup?
So I predicted that it was going to be merge at this point, but after watching the episode, the swap made a lot more sense. I felt horrible for Lily being on the bottom of potentially a 3-strong alliance, but obviously she's got an idol to protect herself if need be. Definitely interested in the clash on Rogers between the 2 major power players in the season so far, which is kind of been,
Tyler and Alex there.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I thought it was a great idea to split them up. Yeah, nothing much more to say.
Now, I love the swap, and I also have no hesitation in putting out predictions there and being proven totally wrong, such as I thought Lily was going to be first boot and she's smashing it. And I predicted Kyle as the next boot each time and he's smashing it. So I'm going to throw one out there. I was particularly watching for facial reactions when the swap went down. And I was trying to read into, you're going to excuse me, I'll never get the colours right here, but the orange tribe, that's our tribe of 5, isn't it? They've been smashing. So I was watching their face when Sam mentioned it. To me, it seemed like Andy, Tyler, and Nick. We will ask that question, Mel, when we get to speak to Sam next. Andy, Tyler, and Nick's faces, to me, seem to just be a little bit more. I'm not sure if I really like what's about to happen right here. And so I was trying to read into the tribe, even though we haven't necessarily seen it. Is there a thing happening with Andy, Tyler, Nick as a 3? And this was held alongside when we saw the swap tribe and Kyle and Sean were asked about how they felt with the new tribe. And they both seem to have a new lease of life. So I'm going to put it out there that I think that there was already a bit of a 3-2 divide and Sean and Kyle were on the outside of that. And be happily proven wrong in the episodes to come. But did any of you pick up anything about any of the players at that point?
Well, I think it would be interesting. So I know how we were speaking earlier with, say, Lily and Idol, how I thought it was a bad move at that time for her to say that she has it. But say hypothetically, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but say if her being in a 3-1 minority and they lose the challenge, I actually think it's beneficial for her to then tell them, actually, I have an idol, and then form the cracks between the other three as well. So I thought it was a very interesting makeup of that, because that way she can kind of really strong arm people, because all she has to say is, I have the idol, and then shut the hell up, because that way, and let the feuds, if there were original cracks with what you're saying, between there being a core three in the original Rogers tribe and, say, Sean and Kyle being on the outer.
And I think that we'll see some conversation on that shortly in terms of how different players handled theirs, because Sean went quiet. Lily obviously spoke about it early, and then we'll talk about Alex in a short while. So Sam tells us that the swap was planned. They had a few options available for different times across the day, but there was always going to be a swap there. Okay, it's good to know. So Aston, and you can add in anything else you want to there, but can you then also then tie that in and talk us through the challenge? Because I think that the conversation for the challenge can be pretty quick.
Yeah, so the challenge is essentially a untying of a series of, I think, 10 crates.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had to move the crates from one spot to another. The Rogers tribe, the new Rogers tribe, which is Alex, Nick, Liam, and Tyler, seemed to go with the strategy of, we'll untie one at a time and move one crate at a time. Whilst Soames decided to go with the, all right, let's just untie every single one right now, stack them up, and we'll carry them straight there, stacked up. And I don't know, it seemed like the challenge was over within 2 to 3 minutes.
It seemed very fast. James, anything you want to add before we get into what I think was maybe the most exciting part of the season so far coming up after this?
I think the challenge was very basic, very generic. And yes, it kind of, I kind of feel like in this episode, it kind of would have made more sense to have the two challenges swapped around. So have the idle hands as the immunity with the even numbers, and then have this as maybe like a reward challenge, just purely because of how long each one kind of went. But yeah, end of the day, I mean, yeah.
Well, it ultimately achieved the Soames 2 absolutely smashed it. At the end of the day, it achieved the outcome we wanted to see one of the tribes be successful and the other tribe about to go to tribal council. We go back to camp and we've got Liam, Tyler, let me get this right, Liam, Tyler, Nick and Alex at the 2-2 about to start their strategical chatting for what's going to go down at tribal council. There was a lot that happened here, boys. So... hang on, Nick. So, Aston, lead us off. Tell me some stuff that you noticed.
So, initially off the bat, Alex lets slip, oh, yeah, we only found the idol because... And then he kind of whispers the rest of the sentence, and Nick immediately goes, oh, so you found the idol? He's like, oh, nah. And then Tyler goes, well, you just said when we found the idol. And and immediately she starts grilling. We get to this segment called Tyler's Grill, where she is all over them, just really getting all the info she needs.
James, could the boys give any more information?
Yeah, definitely. With that, Tyler did certainly seem to be grilling Alex after his little Freudian slip, which in my mind, if I'm Alex, that's sending red flags again about Tyler. Instead of not wanting to work with her. Another thing we did see as well is Nick pitch to Liam and to Alex to say, hey, let's form a 3 here. Let's vote out Tyler, and you guys will still have the numbers if you go back in exchange. I'll give you some information. So that was another little component we saw. And we also saw Alex show Tyler the note to his hidden immunity idol.
Right, can I get you to pause for a second, James? Because I think you've hit a couple of things. I didn't actually notice this on the first watch. It was when I rewatched this today when Nick was talking about, I will share the information. the edit actually flashed into a really quick shot of Alex out of nowhere, just for like half a second, and then moved on. And we'll come to Mel's question second. So, but I just thought that was really interesting to see. So Mel's asking, was it a slip or did Alex's shark tell him to accidentally drop it in the convo? I'm going to say it was a slip. I don't think it was a deliberate tactic, but any different thoughts?
I think it was a slip initially, but I think he played it well, knowing that, I think once she knows, threatening her with it was the best play from that point.
Yep. Can I just also throw to one moment prior to when we start to see them all talk? We went across to the winning tribe for just a moment, and they had a quick discussion about Lily mentioning Tyler and Liam's past relationship, and Lily making the assumption that means that they would just automatically connect. And we had a very, I'm guessing, ominous for the future reference from Andy there, and well, not necessarily. Which I thought was interesting to see where things were going. I'm just going to put it out there. Who else thought this was going to go 1-1-1-1 after Nick's boys chat? We've got Alex buying into Tyler's plan. We've got Liam, who seems committed to Alex, thinking that the two of them will vote together to at least try and force a 2-2. And then we're left up in the air when it finally gets to the vote of Nick going there. Tell me that you weren't excited for the idea we could be going 1-1-1-1.
Oh, I was frothing. I was like praying, like, please let this happen, because it would have been absolutely phenomenal and very much like, well, it's never happened in Survivor before. I mean, the closest we've ever had to an equal vote where across multiple names has been like a 3-2 to 2.
Aston, what did you think?
Yeah, I was fully convinced it was going to be 1-1-1-1. The edit made it. The edit ending with Nick's little, oh yeah, we all have penises. Let's start the penis alliance. I was fully convinced.
I'm paraphrasing.
I thought that's what he said.
You got the gist of it
though. But yeah, and then I knew that Alex was going to try and bluff his way through here. I had that feeling that he had no intention of playing the idol whatsoever.
So I'm going to pose the question that, because obviously we know the result, Alex goes home in the end. So when they're talking at this point here, did Alex make the right move, leaning towards thinking, can I get Tyler on side and get through this vote? Now I'm connected to Tyler. Or should he have stuck with Liam, who was part of his alliance? And I know it's easier in hindsight to just go, yes, this is the right move and this is the wrong move. But put yourself in the position before you go to tribal council. What do you think Alex should have been doing here? James, kick us off.
100%.
100% sitting in silence, I think I heard him say. Aston,
and there was no way that they could have lost. Sorry, can you hear me?
You're 110%. Which part should he have gone, though? Just give us a couple of words, James. 110%. All right, I'll throw to Aston and we'll hear James' thoughts later. Aston.
100%, he should have stuck with Liam.
Where should he have gone? Where should he have gone?
I think he trusted Tyler a bit too much. So I think I would have threatened her with the idol. Maybe even double idol threat. I know.
Yeah, because he had the fake, yep.
I do think that Tyler is smart enough to be like, that's, show me the idols type of play. I don't think she would have ever voted for Nick.
Agreed.
I do like. I think he needed to just put his vote on Nick and play his idol.
Yep.
Yeah,
that was the best play.
Your shot, James.
100%. Alex should have stuck with Liam. No matter what happens, they can't lose out at that point.
Now, I'm not going to condemn Liam either way here, because there was a part of me that really respected the move that he made, in the sense of, like, had he have been able to genuinely been on board with Tyler, so if she hadn't have sold him down the river, he gets through there, He's got a real immunity and a fake immunity side all sitting in his pocket. And I think sometimes, especially when you're down in the numbers, you sometimes have to put yourself out there and take a risk for longer-term gain. Short-term pain means he no longer participates in the game except for as a jury member. But they're one of those things that we can talk to Alex very shortly about. So we go to Tribal Council and we obviously see it go down, and ultimately Alex votes for Liam. Tyler votes for Alex, Liam votes for Nick, and then Nick's hidden vote comes out for Alex, and Alex is gone. Was there anything particular you wanted to share about the Tribal Council, Aston? Because I thought it was a fairly, I think we got to where it went to. And Matt, we're definitely going to talk about that in a moment. So Matt shared that Tyler certainly seems to be playing the game.
Obviously what happened. I think for me, I think Tyler's played the shit out of this. She's pulled off probably the biggest play so far. I mean, it's early, but
100%,
it's definitely the biggest play so far.
Yep.
She's taken out a massive threat. She's actually solidified her relationship with Nick. They know, hey, look, we can work together. We can trust each other going forward.
Yep.
Liam's alone. He's just going to come straight to Tyler at this point. Depending on his other relationship with the other side. But from what I see, it seems like he can just come straight back to Tyler. She's got, these two over here. She's got an old alliance on the other side. She's in a great position.
I 100% agree. I think that Tyler definitely did. Yes, she did play the shit out of it, but honestly, it should never have happened. Though, but I mean, it has happened, and all credit to Tyler because she did hustle, and then she did play unbelievably this round.
Her pickup of information, utilising that information and getting everything to work the way that she wanted to work, I think she did an incredible job. Yeah, we will definitely bend the deal for Tyler. And I think that the other thing that she did was, while it came across with her playing her ass off, I think she's done it in a very safe place in the sense of Nick has no reason to sell her under the bus on that one there. I'm going to say a little bit that I'm not even sure that Liam might be aware of how much he just got. Tyler just played the ass off that. But as Aston said, he's alone. What can he do now? And the other bit was, so much of it was to camera. And her conversation to herself in confessional, where it was almost like she was back and forthing, that was incredible to watch.
Yeah, 100%.
So ultimately, can I just say one other little thing that I just liked, because I like seeing these little foreshadowing type moments. There was a little conversation where Sam firstly was so excited about what's going to happen. He's pumped. It's always lovely to see the person who's putting it together, seeing that enthusiasm. But they have a conversation and Sam says to Alex, so what's the best that you can, Alex? And Alex's response was like, ideally not be here. And I just watched this like, which screen? You're gone. But I thought those moments were good. So we see Alex get voted out.
Speaking on the foreshadowing, we did address it in episode 1, the whole, when Alex flexed on Nick, and then there was that confessional where Nick's like, I'm going to remember this later on in the game, eventually, his one vote is the one that sends Alex out of the game. He was there for a reason.
It was very impressive. Yep, I like it. So, shall we bring Alex in?
Yeah, I'll bring him in.
Well, let's welcome Alex, I was going to say our third place finisher, but let's reverse that. What's it? Our 8th place finisher from, we share that, Alex. I also finished 8th in my season. Congratulations on an amazing game for your 3 episodes, and we'll talk about it a bit here, but thanks for joining us. How you doing?
No worries. Thanks for having me on.
Now, Alex, can we just kick off by, we get the impression that you are a rookie survivor, never seen anything, never know much about it, etc. How did you come to be here? How did you get into this game?
That's a good question. I was. That's not just an impression. That was fully legit. Because I was invited from Sam, really, and then from that point, I kind of figured, this will just be fun, not really knowing anything about it at all. And then I think it was probably only like 2 days before we actually played. I sort of thought, I better actually do a bit of preparation for this. So luckily a friend of mine had watched a lot of Survivor and she helped me out a bit. So I think from memory, I just watched like maybe an hour of highlight reels and got like a bit of an understanding of like the structure of the game. And it's funny though, now like watching it back, you can fully see that my game was just highlight reels. Like I'd be happy to just play 3 episodes of it. I think I did enough stuff to have a good time. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely the way it was.
Mate, it's 100% that you did a whole bunch of stuff, and obviously James and Aston are going to throw some questions your way in a moment, but you did some very, very impressive stuff, especially for somebody who had basically come in with nothing. It was really incredible to watch.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean, like when we first found out that you actually were a newbie and didn't really know much about Survivor, I was like genuinely shocked because some of the level of strategy and the ways you're playing the game, I mean, definitely from those highlight reels, I mean, was it something that what were the key takeaways or something that you wanted to try and implement?
I think I caught that. Do you mean what was some of the key strategies I wanted to implement? That's what I got?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That's a good question. I don't really know. And like watching it back, I don't even know if I at the time thought I could win. I don't think I did. I don't think I thought, if I played this really well, maybe I could win. I don't really think I gave myself a chance to win, and that didn't really bother me. But at the same time, I was gutted to get out, and it's still like gutting watching it back, especially when you got the hindsight to do things differently. But I think realistically, like for me, if I got out like somewhere more towards the middle or like the higher end of the middle, that would have been like a 100% satisfaction for me. My only regret is that like because we did it all in a day and I was out maybe in like the first 3.5 hours, then I was kind of on the edge for the last like 9 hours. So I missed like not being involved for the end of it. But I mean, obviously I was involved in the jury, but yeah, I mean, I didn't really have a strategy, and I think it shows, to be fair. So.
Yeah, as Aston throws his question to you, you actually share a bond with Aston, I believe, because I think he was also the third person voted out in his series when he played.
Nice.
Third boot gang.
Yeah. But he played in a 16-member cast, Alex.
Oh, fuck you.
That's much worse.
No,
I'll take you to the floor, Alex.
Top 8 sounds good when you put it like that.
Honestly, mate, you yeah, I think we're all sitting here messaging Sam like, there's no way this guy's never watched it before. Your calmness to just do things that, you had a very super fan-like game, but, you've got no background knowledge. It's just incredible. It's like I was saying, you might be the best casual recruit type player that's ever played Survivor in general.
Jeez, I'll take that.
Yeah, it's a big rap, honestly.
I did actually, just for a bit of extra information, I did actually watch the next Australian season after that, and I loved it. Like I haven't watched it since, but again, it just was fresh on my mind. And so, yeah, I do love it, and I love like the layers and the strategy to it. But yeah, I do think in terms of like, I was listening to you guys talk, and one of the things that I wanted to say in terms of like that vote for episode 3, one thing that I think maybe whether or not you guys noticed or picked up on it or not, one thing that I definitely noticed is fully about me was when we were sitting down talking, me, Tyler, and Nick, and I showed Tyler my idol. There's a bit of miscommunication there where Tyler actually thought, and then so what happens after that is Liam comes back and she tries to like confirm with Liam whether he knew. Tyler and Liam thought they were talking about the same idol, but they weren't. They were talking about the idol.
Yeah.
I had a different idol. And so when I was watching it back, I was like, oh, that's so frustrating because I didn't communicate clearly enough to get across the line to Tyler that I was being straight up honest. Like my strategy in that situation was full honesty with Tyler, because I know Tyler well enough to know that she's insane. And so I was straight up with her, get her on side at least a little bit. And that was my plan. But then the way that the communication broke down, there's a point where Tyler actually says, Alex lied to me, so I can't trust him. And that, I was like, no, he didn't lie to you.
Yeah, true.
What happened? So, but it just was, I mean, that's a rookie thing, right? I didn't really reiterate my, and maybe I had an opportunity, but I didn't clarify to Tyler how I actually played that. So, yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, you watch it back and you're like, especially now that I've actually watched Survivor, I'm like, oh, it's a bit dumb. I could have been a bit better there, but, whatever.
Before I get into what I'm going to ask you next, Alex, because Mel's dying to ask a question from the outside. She's thrown two out now. So once she's just thrown them out, is Alex's have you played any online games or any other strategy-based games before coming into your Survivor game?
Or after?
Oh, nah, not really. I'll be honest, like, I just know those people pretty well. So I know all of those people except Lily, Nick. That's pretty much it. I knew everyone else. I didn't know Kyle super well, but I knew Kyle well enough. And they all knew me. So I kind of felt like if I was just myself, people kind of trust me, like try to be a pretty genuine dude. Feel like I didn't need to really – I wasn't trying to come in flying with a strategy. Like, my policy was pretty much just to be pretty straight up with everyone, except obviously when I found that idol at the start, I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to tell people about that. So I kept that to myself. But, yeah, hope that answers your question.
No, well, that's good, because that's going to lead into I was just going to ask, at the beginning of the game from the edit, I got the impression that you and Lily had started working together as a duo. Is that an accurate depiction of what we saw, or not the case?
Yeah, that was kind of my plan. And it's hard watching it back because I'm like, oh, that would have been really sick. I didn't know Lily that well, but I felt like we kind of got along well enough in that time. So, yeah, it could have worked out well. It's a shame the way it split. If I was with Lily and Liam going the other way, I felt like it would have worked better. Even if I'd split and I was the one on my own with the three, I kind of would have liked that, because then I would have just played the idol straight up, wouldn't have questioned it. The reason I didn't was I felt super safe. I just felt like because from my perspective in that moment was Tyler trusted me and I was like, sweet, we're good to go here. So, yeah.
So just to tag on to that, I was just going to say, in the second episode, when you went into when Georgia went home, was Georgia basically always going home, or were you actually tossing up between Georgia and Liam on that one? And then I'll shut my mouth and let James ask a question.
Yeah, I think it was always going to be Georgia, which is it's so sad. Like, watching it back as well, you're like, I feel so bad. I felt so bad at the start for Hayley, because I forgot to say that. I don't know Hayley at all. So Hayley, like, she's so lovely. Everyone said that, which sounds like such a cop-out. She actually is. Like, she's probably the loveliest person. So I didn't know Hayley, and so, yeah, she was kind of going to go, and then Georgia was kind of going to go. And if we didn't change, me and Lily would have stuck together, and Liam was going to go. So, yeah, it was just the way it was. Yeah.
Well, the question I want to ask Alex, yeah, do you think that because you said that you, apart from like Lily and Nikki, pretty much knew everyone on the cast, like, to some degree, and they kind of knew, hindered or or clouded your judgment of perceiving Tyler to be trusting you, rather than say if in comparison if you're playing the game with a bunch of people you didn't know?
No, I don't think so. I just think, honestly, it was just a full communication breakdown, because Tyler says to Liam, "Did you know about Alex's idol?" And Liam goes, "Yeah." But he didn't know about my idol. He knew about Lily's idol. And so there was just a break there where he's like, yep. And maybe it was kind of part of his strategy to sort of show like he was in, like he didn't want to look like, oh, no. But, yeah. And so I reckon that's all it was. Honestly, I'd love to have known what would have happened if he'd been like, what? Alex has an idol. And then he's like, no, Lily has one. And then, like, because if that actually came to the surface, then maybe Tyler would have trusted me. But to be honest, like, I didn't give myself the chance to go like 4 more votes. I just thought I'd maybe get 1 or 2 more. And then also to be voted out with an idol, you just look dumb. So, yeah.
We've got a question here from Mel again. I think you kind of answered it, but let's say outside of Lily, who would you see yourself potentially working with in a merge situation?
Not Andy, not Sean, not Kyle, not Tyler. Lily, it was Lily.
The production crew.
Yeah.
Oh, Eli's in there with a. We've all become massive Lily fans along the way. I famously suggested that she was going to be the first boot of the season. I'm certainly not living up to that one at the moment. So, just how was the whole experience for you as a whole, Alex?
Oh, it was amazing.
Not the jury part, but
yeah. Oh, it was so good. Like, and I maybe think I enjoyed it more coming from like a blind background to Survivor because I didn't like the most amazing thing about all of it is watching it now because it just blows my brain a bit how well it was planned and then executed and then produced. Is like each one of those things is like a full logistical piece, and it was all done. Like, it's insane. It's amazing to watch. And the fact that like the little things that happened in the day, like there's no coming back like, oh, we missed that. Can we film that again? Like it just happens and they've got to film it. And then someone's got to watch all of that and decide like, that's just, I think it's wild. So it was amazing. And I think those guys did an amazing job.
We've got a fun little question. We got a fun little question for you, Alex. So when I played, essentially, I dubbed myself like the orca, being like, top of the food chain, the head of the pod, kind of like an apex sort of predator. In your description, like your job title, it said you're like a fisherman. So how did you want to, if you were like a type of fish or like a sea creature, how did you want to play the game, and what do you think you ended up kind of being?
Okay. How did I want to, and what did I end up as?
I think what's your persona type of deal?
Oh yeah, okay. Gee, that's a good question, man.
Might make a lot more sense if you'd ever seen James play. James has got some tickets on himself.
I'm definitely not top of the food chain. I'll start out with that. I've never considered myself to be so somewhere mid-tier, just sub bottom half of mid. So like, I don't know, like a sardine, mate. I'll take a sardine.
Some modesty, some humbleness, James. It's a good lesson for you there. Aston, you got anything particular you want to ask first? I've certainly got another question I'd like to ask.
I'd love to know, like, would you be willing to play again in the future? I know we run it in Canberra. Melbourne has their own. Sydney is starting one up. Do you have any interest in jumping in again and seeing, fixing the things you did wrong?
Yeah, definitely. I was talking to Sam about that when we watched the first episode together. Yeah, I would for sure. And great segue. Applications are open for season 2.
Stick it below.
And maybe I'll have to put an application in for the rerun. But actually, it's funny though, because I was thinking about that. I kind of anticipated that question, thinking that before, and I don't know if I want to play it again. I do want to play again. I don't know if I want to play again as much as I wish I could play that again.
That one again.
You only get one, like you get another shot, but you only get one shot at that set of circumstances. And kind of knowing a bit more about the game now, I'm like, I wouldn't have won. I still don't think I would have won, but I would have. I would have gone through that vote. I wouldn't have gotten voted out.
So on that, Alex, you obviously have reflected a little bit on the game that you've played. If you played another one, where do you see yourself going differently? Not in terms of positional, but in terms of the way that you might approach it or strategy, that sort of aspect.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think would have to be myself, because I don't think you can kind of come back and play again when people would probably know you from watching you, and then I couldn't come and be a quiet player or try and, kind of go under the radar. Like, it just isn't me and it wouldn't work. So I'll just be myself again and try and be straight up with people, and just have a little bit more of a strategy, I guess. Not in like a strategy is in to work cleverly and sort of like blindside people, but just as in like strategy in the sense that like understand that you don't just lose by having a poor strategy. You can lose by having poor communication. And I didn't really realize that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, Mel's asked the question. She's obsessed with your shark.
Okay, nice.
Is it in a position that she can see it?
It's not. I'm sorry. I don't actually know where it is.
Oh,
I even thought at
3
the
years
time.
is
I don't even remember where that sort of how that even came about. I think actually on the morning of when we filmed, we all had a piece of paper and we had to write something down quickly. And I was probably briefing it to play. So I was like, I don't know, what do I say here? So yeah, I don't actually know where the shark is.
I did get that impression from your pre-game thing that you were, just having a joke and messing around, having fun with it.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
James or Aston, anything else you'd like to ask at the moment?
I do. I have one sort of final question, Alex. So between that scene we saw in episode 3 where you got the surprise Pikachu face Connor, who do you think does it better, yourself or the actual original, like with the surprise Pikachu?
The surprise. What was that? Pikachu.
I'm gonna have to show him, aren't I?
No, you're gonna have to pull that up.
I'm gonna have to show him.
Yeah, I reckon, should we do an early segue into the meme zone just with that one, Aston?
Just for this one.
I think I probably have seen that before. Oh, it's got to be me. I'm gonna have to say.
Yeah. There's genuine fear in your eyes about the fact that all the chocolate is going.
The thing is, I was fuming not so much about the food. I was fuming a bit about the food. I was fuming because the ruling that we'd lost the challenge. I'm not always the blame the refs guy, but I'm fairly competitive, and that was a bit sus on that ruling. Not to mention, and I will bring this up as well, the knots on the crates. There's a reason why you thought one of them looked like it took 2 minutes and ours was still going. I said to Nick when we watched it back, I said, "Were you throwing that challenge?" I genuinely thought you were throwing it. I said, "No, he was fully committed to that. Ours was much harder. I'm certain of it. I didn't look at their knots, but when I showed in episode 1, I can untie knots. So it's not the player, it's the game."
Liam's going to back you up there.
Yeah, very suspicious. Damn right. That's damn right. And also, look, I'm on a rant now. The wobbling hand with the block. Gee, one of them was much less balanced than the other. So, yeah.
Oh, I did pick that feel up.
Yeah,
look, Alex, I think I speak on all of our behalves. You seriously were a joy to watch. In terms of, I can't remember where I put you down as my placement prediction in the series. Aston might have it handy, or James might have it handy. And I know Aston had the 5 blokes going before any females even left, and no idea what James did. But watching you make the idol find, and then you kept that as silent as any player should keep it when they find an idol in the game. Seeing you start to form the duo with Lily, I had high hopes of that going a long way as the game was developing. That was really cool to see. Obviously, you're left with an idol. There's a cool little group in Survivor history that get to do that. You're not the first person. I'm sure you won't be the last. But you really were a joy to watch, and you look like you knew the game a heap more than what we went into the cast assessment assuming that you did, and which is obviously the truth. But you played like somebody who seemed to have really good knowledge of what was going on.
Oh, cheers. Thanks, Mel. I just remembered as you were saying that, I listened to your first one where you talked to Haley, and I think Mel maybe brought it up in that. She mentioned, I'd love to know if Alex put himself on that station where I got the idol. And I did. I'm not the guy to be like, I'm so strategic, because I cooked it, and that's why I went out. But I'll be honest, I did, because I remembered what Lily had read out, and I thought, I'll play on the fact that I can untie fishing knots and get myself a station next to it. I didn't have the strategy to think, if I can get Haley behind me, then she's a weak. It wasn't that deep. It was just deep enough that I thought I'll get it, and then I'll try and figure out if anyone's seen. Luckily, no one saw, but at the same time, Haley went out anyway. So, there was some strategy there, but it needs refinement. Needs a season 2.
No, I think that you getting another shot at a game somewhere would be very interesting to see based on what we saw in that first one. But now you would be able to take so much away, because I'm sure even sitting on the jury, you started to see other players play and make their own moves that we're going to see in the weeks to come. So you learn stuff just by watching that and talking to other people.
Definitely. It was amazing. And it was really cool to watch that before I'd seen a full season of Survivor, because I was kind of like fully mentally engaged with the strategy and the structure of the game. It's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, genuinely, obviously, for someone who hadn't have much knowledge or anything about the game beforehand, like personally, I was also like genuinely impressed by the game we saw from you and the strategies in such a short span. So you should give yourself a big pat on the back.
Thank you. Cheers.
Aston, any final words for Alex?
No, I think I'm good. I think we can let him head off.
Well, thanks very much for joining us, Alex. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to see you play and now getting to meet you. And hopefully we'll get to see you play again one day.
Maybe season 2.
Maybe season 2, yeah. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Alex. Well, that was cool. Alex seems like a really nice guy, somebody that I'd be happy to play with. We'd have the boys alliance.
Not me. I don't play like that.
No, you're all for the women, aren't you, Aston?
Yeah, I'm not going to say it, but yeah.
All right, so now, do you want to go about doing the outwit, outplay, outlast before or after the memes?
Yeah, let's do it first.
All right, so who's looking after outwit?
I think it's me.
That's you, actually.
Me. Outwit this episode, I have to give it to Tyler. This was the Tyler show, in my opinion. She did so many correct moves. It was just amazing. Mainly, I'm looking at, I think the thing that I was impressed with the most was she had to take in the fact that Alex was threatening her with the idol, and she had to determine if that was him, okay, I'm going to play it on Liam or I'm going to play it on me. I think if I was in that position, I would probably crack and I would just immediately just throw the votes on Nick. I would just, that's just the way I would want to play it. But she took the risk and it paid off massively for her. Big props, and she gets the outwit for me this episode.
Absolutely well deserved. Well, if we go down in the order of outwit, outplay, outlast, I'm going to look after outplay. And look, it's a very, very easy way to go that I could have also given this to Tyler. But as we've been speaking, just to share the love around, I'm actually going to go with outplay going to Nick, this one here. And I'm going to go from the aspect of there was certainly a part of Nick probably leading the boys along a little bit. Yes, okay, we'll come to you, Seth Madison. So I think Nick led the boys along a little bit. That gave a little bit of faith there that he might actually be with them. I think that in doing so, but then ultimately going with Tyler, and I think she drove what happened in the episode, but he's then put himself into a position that he becomes like a more trusted ally to Tyler, which then becomes a more invaluable place for him as the game goes along. So I think that he was sitting in an all right position anyway, but I think he may have just pushed himself up the ladder a little bit in terms of an even stronger position. So I'm going to give my outplay love to Nick there. Darren Mel, you'll be back next week. We'll lose some testosterone. Outwits. Outlast.
Outlast belongs to me, and I think it can only go to one person. It has to go to Tyler for me. I mean, she absolutely played absolute shit out of this round. She absolutely came out trumps without her name. Her name come up, but not really as a genuine option. I mean, she was the only person in a 4-person tribal, one of which had an idol that didn't have her name written down, but also while controlling the vote as well. Her hustle as well was, top tier. So for me, it has to go to Tyler.
Thanks, James. I look like scum now that I've gone and chosen Nick. I like to share the love, but Tyler was definitely the player of the episode. Yeah, Tyler was definitely the player of the episode, but Nick, I will stand by it. So I believe at this point there that James is going to share some memes, or Aston's going to share the memes. James is going to talk us through them. Is it something like that?
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Yeah. So we'll briefly touch on the first one. So the first one we saw briefly was the comparison between the Pikachu face and Alex. So I mean, Drake's like, well, like, step aside, there's a new one in town. So, and I think this was just I loved how, throughout the whole episode, we've got this snippet come up like quite multiple times, and definitely very, very meme worthy.
Oh, it's a killer look. I love it. It's one of the best bits I've seen.
Next meme.
I can't see the bottom line.
Oh, didn't I just
Yes, the next meme would you pop it up?
You there, James?
Take two, James.
Did you want to put up the next meme, Aston?
It's there, isn't it?
I haven't come up with it.
It's the one, get swapped into the winning tribe, ends up losing the immunity challenge. So we've got Nick there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so classic bad luck Brian. So essentially, it says one thing, it kind of with the ironic, and then ironically, the opposite thing happened. So classic bad luck Brian, except in this case, it's bad luck Nick, who was so sure that he was going to be on the winning tribe, the winning team, but ultimately not the case.
Next one. It's the doggos.
Oh, yep. Next one. Yeah, so we got Kyle, who, let's be honest, at the moment is the resident challenge beast of Brisbane Survivor. And anyone who comes up against him, it's like essentially Kyle's like the mountain in Game of Thrones. No one can defeat him. Like literally, he is unstoppable right now.
Yeah. Next one.
I like it.
It's Leo DiCaprio.
Yeah. So next one we've got Andy, kind of like having that sort of smug little look on her face, like, I know you guys have got Moosey bars, and I know exactly where you're hitting them. So, and she was quite pleased with herself and her little nose, which was like that detective of like a little like sniffer dog at the airport, like trying to find the different drugs. That's like Annie, but with like the Moosey bar. And she was quite pleased.
And I've got one more. This was actually made by Mal, the new meme king.
Oh, okay. What have we got here?
We've got Alex's face with Mel's not on tonight.
and Alex's Devo that Mel's not here.
No, well done, Malcolm. I think you are really much, pushing the boundaries of becoming a new meme lord of the Embers podcast.
Yeah, I don't know if I go that far. That's the first meme I've ever made. I tried to make it on my phone, and I couldn't do it, so I had to get home on the computer. All right, so before we wrap up here, and you didn't do this last week, but I love a good hardcore prediction for the following week because I like seeing people get egg on their face. So I'm going to put you under the pump. I want some firm commitment as to what's going to happen, who's going to go, that sort of scenario, just in a few words. And we'll see how badly we predict.
I'll call.
Aston's going to go first. Sorry,
I'll call. Yeah. My call is merge next episode, and our merge boot will be Sean.
With the idol in his hands.
Yeah, blindside.
Aston, because something that I noticed just during the episode after Sean found the idol today was I went back and had a look at his little clip as to who he knows. Coming into the game, and it was really only leaving Andy as the only remaining unknown person for Sean, and he's got an idol in his pocket. I'm curious to see how it's going to play for him. I'm not going to predict that, but we'll see how we go. James.
I'm predicting James. I don't think it'll be merge. I think we'll have one more tribal format, tribal game. So I think we'll have it'll be one more tribal round, and I think if the trio of Liam, Tyler, and Nick go to trouble again, I can see that Tyler and Liam coming together and blindsiding Nick.
Blindsiding Nick. All right, then. I think there's going to be something to Andy's little thing in today's episode of not necessarily. So I don't see that happening. All right, I'm also going to call the merge is going to happen. And just to stay on the Malcolm bashing Kyle bandwagon, so that when we finally interview Kyle, we can have a ripper. I'm going to say that the mountain, as James has just called him, is going to finish second in the challenge, and everyone's going to recognise the challenge beast that he is, and he's going to get taken out right at the merge. Any last words?
Well, have we got a funniest moment for the episode?
Ooh, hadn't thought about that one, James. Put me on the spot.
I can go.
Yep.
I just love Nick's face anytime he does anything, like anything challenge based, or he's got this like smug grin that he does as he walks off. Like when he beat Lily, his face was just classic.
I'm going to go with a moment that you, James. I don't know if you can see us or not. All right, I'm going to go with when Nick was just saying, boys. I loved it. It just worked really well.
Yeah, that was good. That was so good.
And James, finish it off.
Yeah. I've also got a Nick moment. So my Nick moment is essentially when Sean finds Idol, and Aston, you kind of put it before, is like where Nick's like, "Hey, have you got something? You got something in your pants?" And I don't know if it's just because you're happy to see me or not, but his detective work was sound, but the way he delivered it, with saying, "Oh yeah, it's clear that he has a bulge in his pants." I mean, Nick, that can be multiple things, but it's there's two things there.
All right. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for joining us tonight. Thank you, James. Thank you, Aston. And Mel just popped up as we ended and said that she strongly disagrees with me. She said, I didn't know what I'm talking about, and there is no way in the world Kyle will be going next week. So let's wait and see. Let's tune in Wednesday night for Brisbane Survivor episode 4. And if you're thinking, do you ever want to play one of these games, especially if you live in the Brisbane area, if you're not prepared to travel a long way, just do it. Seriously, just put the application out there and have a go. You will have the time of your life. Good night.